I didn't see you today.
I am.
I feel like I haven't seen you in so long.
Hey, Diane, mic check, can you hear me?
How's it going?
Can you try talking for me?
I guess so.
Thank you.
Hi.
Turn your camera off. Both, we're a little behind schedule. What are we going to?
Okay. I'm gonna be mostly muted and video off because that way you don't watch me blow my nose and everything.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I spare you the details of my sickness.
Yeah, we'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that is tricky. It's like- Hi, how's it going?
Diane is on. You're free to start whenever you would like.
Okay, hi Dan. All right, we'll call this meeting of the Madison Board of Ed Facilities Committee to order. It is 6:37. We've got some folks here in person and Diane is joining us on Zoom. We have 3 items on the agenda, the 2025-26 CIP, summer work update, and then a discussion around Jeffrey and Ryerson. Peter, I'll send it right over to you to get us started.
Okay, so our SIP, we presented earlier last time, and there was an opportunity for any questions to come up on the SIP that we had. Are there any questions at this point that are, and what we've, any possible changes? I know that there was one concern about changing the asphalt project to a 1-year project versus a 2-year project. We kind of felt that would be incremental to the schools if we did that by locking down 2 schools at once. So that was the outcome of that.
It's better to spread it out.
It's better to
with the
spread it out.
consensus. Okay.
And I'll share, just since our last meeting, it was public, documents I was able to share with First Select Woman, and obviously Stacey Novitz is very much involved in development of this. I think there's it's very well received in terms of the number of changes. We're lower than we have been on initial proposal in other years. So I think 1 year we sent over about a $14 million plan that was quickly sent back to us and asked us to revise. So I think this fits in, especially where we land in terms of year 1 and 2 in a good place, which is where they look at the most, and also does move forward some very important projects. The Polson piece, as we've shared, is kind of become its own CIP plan. More to come on that. We don't have any additional updates than we did last time we met, but we thought this was in a really good place to move forward, and I think will be well received, from the town and Board of Finance.
So there weren't any changes from last time. The really only thing that we left with was the paving question and then some clarification last time. But from what we'll have today for action at tonight's meeting is the draft, basically the same version that we had last time.
Yeah.
Yep. Stephen, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Hi, Diane, do you have any questions or comments, for the CIP?
I'm
No?
good.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I just wanna, I think it's always important to take credit where we need to, and I think one of the reasons why we were able to come in so low is because we have a lot of work being done to our buildings through the school's renewal program. And so, you know, this makes good on representations to the community in the past, that this would help to reduce CIP burden, maintenance, you know, it's reducing some older schools at some point, and we're really gonna start to see the benefit of that, hopefully moving forward. It also, over the next, this year and next, comports with the Madison Investment Plan, I believe, fits in nicely with that, which I know the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen have been working on tirelessly. So I think this is a great CIP plan for us. It gives us what we need, and I would support it.
So do we need to take action as a committee to send it forward on the agenda for the board? So we're good.
I'll mention, I believe it's part of my report, but I'll leave the bulk of it to you, or if you're gonna share however much you want me to share in my report. Then I'll have you share it, and hopefully it will be approved. I know Peter's gonna join us for my portion of the agenda, and I was gonna let him go, so if there's any questions, we'll just ask the board to ask questions at that point.
This is a very, much smoother process that we've had in years past, and a leaner ask, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
And it may help us eventually hit that timeline we've never been able to hit of July. I think Stacy typically would like this in July to be able to put together the town's CIP, but typically we've approved it first board meeting in September. So
Yeah.
but maybe in future years we'll be able to hit that deadline.
Super. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.
So
Next.
summer work update, yeah.
Yeah, this is this is very exciting time for us actually, and with the new addition of Ben Wicker, our construction manager, who gives me monthly reports on what the district, either he or I or us as a team have been doing. It's making this job really enjoyable. I'm going to share this enjoyment with you by reading the report that I just received this morning. This includes all town stuff. I'm just going to read the school side of it. So these are the planning and concept phase, hand baseball turf field conversion, Green Hills softball field turf replacement. We met with the AD on August 7th, discussed proposed scope for both projects, which currently have design funds available with construction funds planned in the SIP for fiscal year 2026. Confirmed the AD does not want to proceed with the hand baseball field lighting project that has $59,000 of design funding available, but no follow-up construction funds in the budget. Possibly thinking about redeploying the lighting funds to the turf projects in fiscal year 2026. Drafted design services RFP and circulated to the AD. Beach and Rec Director also has this for review for the meeting that's going to occur tomorrow. Design and development phase projects, Polson HVAC and the electrical auditorium summer 2025 construction. As you all know that we've done a new approach to this. I'm not going to get into all the details of it because there's not a lot of committees that have heard this, but we've come up with a really good plan that I think is going to benefit everybody in the end. That's about as much as I'll give you at this point now. Brown site work and playground. We've met with the civil engineer, Brian Curtis, performed follow-up site visit and conceptual design expected in early September, which will then be reviewed by Tecton for general architectural compliance before advancing to the design and construction document phase. Brown pre-K classroom room conversion and the art band room reuse feasibility. We met with Tecton on site. Propose the scope, the intention of keeping the project below $200,000 to utilize millwork funds on the pre-K conversion. Brown interior signage and wayfinding. Met with Tecton and principal to discuss preliminary room usage. Once interior renovation project is complete, this effort will continue in a room schedule provided to sign company for order and magnitude pricing. Establishing deliverable timeline construction through 2025, SIP allocation of $185,000. Brown exterior signage, same funding source as interior. SignPro submitted renderings and pricing for 3 exterior signs. We met with SignPro to review, and they're making adjustments before the package is sent out to the administration to review and comment. Brown FF&E move management. Tecton is working on furniture planning, establishing a deliverable timeline. Active construction phases. Hand rooftop unit replacement, summer 2025 construction. Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance approved, moving $264,000 from the Jeffrey Boiler project to this project, raising the total budget to $3.45 million, and approved the award with the add-all to move to curb adapters to save more construction. Contract work is on its way through town approval for first selectman signature. Kickoff meeting for the scheduled early September. Informed by the state on 8/27 that round 3 of HVAC grants is on hold due to funding constraints. Project was identified as a potential for state grants. CHRO requirements built into the construction contract, but funding was not grant dependent. Olson doors and restroom work. We do continue at a slow pace, we continued at a slow pace in the early parts of the month, prompting a meeting on August 1st where pace and schedule disappointments were expressed. Work did pick up in the bathrooms, but doors were delayed from August 9th to August 16th. Doors arrived on August 16th. Final abatement took place, and the new doors were in place by August 26th. On August 26th, day before school started, students saw a large push by all the subs to get the project substantially complete, which it was done by the end of the day. Punch list items remain: wiring on the handicap push plates, door adjustments, exterior fascia finishing, and exterior caulking, replacement of temporary plumbing fixtures, etc. Gang bathrooms were briefly closed by the fire marshal when it was discovered that the lighting occupancy sensors were reversed and the emergency lights did not work. In other words, when they went into the girls' bathroom, the lights for both bathrooms came on, but when someone went to the boys' bathroom, no lights came on. That was correctly rectified. Major issue that remains is door control and keying. They were working on that today. Doors need to be keyed to the building master, and the fob systems were being put in place today, actually. So I'm going to see how that was hooked up. Reconciling plans versus submittals and field conditions. Neck River Elementary School. I just literally got off a meeting with them today. They're doing a huge pour tomorrow morning between 6 and 9:30 for the second level B section of the building, which is about anywhere between 165 and 200 cubic yards of concrete are going to be basically poured off for the second floor. The framing of the building has taken place on the north side. They framed all the way up to the point where they're coming into the parapet walls of the roof. So there's a lot of shape taking place very quickly at that school. Gilbane encourages anybody in the school system to come by and take a visit on the site trailer. You'd be issued a hard hat and safety vest, and they would happily take anybody around.
Sounds fun.
Brown interior renovations. Project is substantially complete on August 26th in time for the school. Minor punch list items remain, and the building department required railings and platforms are being designed. Olson tennis courts. This is post construction. Final action will be in September to cut the joint out again, caulk and leave exposed with the court finished feathered so that the line breaks at the straight joint and can be maintained as the system moves. What's happening is that the fence line that separates the two section supports, the concrete is moving at a very minimal rate. I mean, just enough for a hairline crack. But what we want to do is we want to allow it to move. So we're going to put a flexible expansion joint in there, and that will allow the concrete to move in a specific spot and not a chaotic crack. So that's being corrected at the end of September. Post-construction for Brown interior renovations punch list from 2023 work. This is the work that was by another contractor last year. Top CAC system training was held on August 21st and data line testing took place. Report showed 3 lines failed. The electrician is going to be addressing that. Most other electrical punch list items have been addressed and they're waiting on replacement whiteboards. The issue with the whiteboards was that you could write on them. You couldn't erase them, it's smudged, and then they were supposed to be magnetic and no magnets can stick to it.
Other than that, they were great.
Yeah, they were white. They were white.
Oh, wow.
And then this is again, construction locker room, Polson locker room issue or locker issue. Manufacturer's rep has priced out replacing the lower shelves with a heavier duty shelf mounted higher in the locker. A PO has been issued and the work will take place during Christmas vacation. Basically, they're taking out the lower section shelves, which kids have found to be a handy step, but not suitable to hold their weight. So, as opposed to having somebody get hurt, we've made the decision to raise the shelf and remove the other. So I believe that's it. That was the summer.
That's it.
That's helpful for you to receive those monthly reports.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. By the
awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
He's done a great job.
Sounds like he's a awesome the team.
And
I have
so
a question.
I will say that as well,
obviously,
and
yes.
I think you undersold all the work that you both monitored over at Brown this summer. So you want to go into a little bit more, or maybe what we could do is schedule another facilities meeting over there, because I think we're in another place to share with the committee
In regards to the pre-K,
in regards to the work that happened this summer. You know, I think that for the amount of money that was
Oh, yeah,
set aside for.
I have never witnessed, I'll be quite frankly, I have never witnessed such a dramatic and an exceptional improvement to a building for the amount of money that we spent as I witnessed it at Brown this summer. The contractor was out of this world. They did many extras that were not included in the budget. And for what they did to bring that building to look the way it does on the interior was just short of a miracle, and they were actually ahead of schedule by a week. What a great contractor Second Needle Brothers was.
Sounds like you'll make a good reference.
They were awesome. I mean, it just, the building looks amazing inside. It's great. If you haven't been in there, I would encourage you to take a look. If you remember what Brown used to look like, you will really appreciate what it looks like now.
What are
It's it's gonna be an unbelievable elementary school.
how are the returning students finding it? Like,
I think everybody found it amazing. I mean, it's a little bit, no pun intended, a little bit elementary for the kids that are in there now.
Yeah,
But it is gonna be, it is, they just knocked it out of the park. It was really good. I'm thrilled with it. I think everything they did with the floors, with the library, with the acoustic panels that were designed into the walls, everything, the millwork, everybody got something that made their whole classroom look a little bit nicer. And then the painting and the new lighting that came in there, it just looks great.
That'd be great. Maybe that'd be nice to go have a walkthrough.
You'd be very, very happily surprised.
Yeah, maybe we can plan that for another meeting. Yeah. Diane,
It might just be my COVID brain, but like that was a lot of information kind of thrown at us all at once. And like I know you're not Bill, but Bill used to like do like all of Brown and then pause and ask us if we had any questions or comments about what he said, and then did Polson, and I just feel like that is a easier way to keep track of everything, because I was trying to listen to everything that you were saying, but I had questions on previous comments that you had. So I'm going to try to go back through the transcript, because you mentioned something about money regarding the baseball field lighting that wasn't utilized. That was 59.5 for 22-23, and what you were going to do with that. And then you also said something about we did not get funding, a grant fund that we thought we were going to get. So if you could just like back up and.
Sure. So
Thanks.
in regards to the hand baseball turf field conversion and the Green Hill softball turf field replacement, when we met with the AD on August 7th, he had confirmed, there was some discussion about the lighting and whether or not they wanted to have lighting in the field. The AD confirmed that they did not want to have baseball field lighting. So there was $59,000 of design funding available, but there was no follow-up for that. So what they wanted to do is, what the suggestion would be, is to redeploy that lighting funds to the turf project. Because I think we feel that the turf project may be a little light on funding to do the entire job. And roll it basically into that, and then have that as our cushion.
And Diane, we had talked about the potential, depending on the field design, if needed, to put conduit underneath the field, should we ever want to add lights in the future. Say in the outfield, if it's given the current alignment of the field, that we wouldn't be able to run it around it. We needed to go underneath to run conduit. We had talked about doing that potentially with that funding. But the CIP never funded the actual project. It just had money that was set aside for design. So there's no lighting funding. I think that had to be something that the town would do, because most high school baseball games are played right after school.
Okay,
Your
so
second
if
question-
that's something that we are gonna do in the future, then we would have to allocate new design funds, or the town would.
In my opinion, as part of the project, if we can run conduit without, a major expense, I think we would do that. And then if the town wanted to come in, years after and say, we'll fund the lighting for then, Little League to play after at night, then I think we could support that. But we hadn't wanted to hold many high school baseball games at night.
And do we expect to be short on funds then? You said for both the baseball and the softball turf projects? And that's why we're allocating the funds to that?
We felt the budget was very, very tight. So that it gives us an opportunity to have that cushion in the budget, so that we can make sure that when we go to bid, we have a competitive budget plan for it.
And is that, you're talking about the year 25, 26, the 1.5? Is that, or am I reading that wrong? It's very small.
Yes, it's actually, where the funds are set for the project to be started in 2026, with design occurring this year.
Okay, and then you mentioned something about,
The
I
hand
think you're
rooftop
talking
unit.
about,
Yep. There was. I'm gonna find it here. So what happened was, we were going to be applying for the state HVAC grant money. But round 3 of the HVAC grants is on hold due to funding constraints. So the project was identified as a potential for state grants. And the CHR requirements are built into the construction contract, but the funding was not grant dependent.
so in other words, the state was going to give out a grant, but they ran out of money, so it's on hold?
No, the project's not on hold. We have the money to do the project, but we were going to apply after we did the project for the grant funding.
No, I said the grant money,
But the grant money is on hold because they don't have enough money. That's correct.
and then would we have the money for the project, but will we be able to get grant money at a later date or no?
We will certainly apply it if the money comes available, yes.
So it's an eligible project, it's
It's-
just whether they're.
They
gonna
just don't
follow
have,
through
they
on
don't
the
have the
funding.
funding on it right now, yeah.
Any other questions, Diane?
No, I don't know, I'd have to go back and reread everything, but I'm good for now.
Thank you. So yeah, maybe next time we can do it by school.
All the schools, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes, thank you. It's really great to have those reports. I appreciate that. Any questions from other committee folks? Stephen, any questions for you?
No, straightforward, thank you.
Okay,
The next item is related to Jeffrey and Ryerson. We've been asked, and the board's had some high level discussions on what would potentially happen with both buildings after we go through our reorganization, and we all know buildings are held by the board. They continue to be even after the schools are no longer utilized at that point. It has to be a board decision to give the keys back basically to the town. That could happen anytime that we feel that they're no longer required to be in our use. I didn't put TCLC on here because I think we've had that discussion before. I think that we would work with the town to remove those portables from that spot. In terms of the two buildings in Ryerson, the discussion has always been that that would be raised as a building. We had one school inquire about potentially buying it, but that has not progressed any further than very initial discussions and a tour. So I would think that will still be the direction. The hope was that there was money available through the building project to be able to do that. So really it comes down to the status for Jeffrey and what the board's direction would be on that. As I said, this is very preliminary. I wanted to, get this on the agenda and see what questions the board might have. Peter did some work that I asked him to do based on cost of mothballing the buildings. Basically, the board said, we're not sure what we want to do with Jeffrey, but we want to hang on to it for the year 25-26. The cost for that would be around $50,000. That's a cost of a partial custodian to check on the building on occasion, to drain the building, but have some heating on to make sure that it's not going to have issues should it be opened up again in the future. You kind of work through that. So we thought about $50,000 would need to be budgeted for that in 25-26. The board certainly has the option of turning the keys over, immediately once we open the school year. I would say we certainly want to get to that point before we did that with both buildings. But I wanted to, just kind of start that discussion. I will share, in October 1, we'll look at the enrollment projections and actuals that we projections versus actuals. When we get the official count, we are about where we've been, predicted to be in terms of kindergarten. We were a little bit lower in Ryerson, a little higher at Jeffrey for kindergarten. So we're not seeing a huge influx of students. We're about where we are. We do not have a single class or grade level that's over 200 students at this point. So we're about where we expect it to be. And from a cost perspective, if we were looking to expand preschool, which would be the piece in the future, we probably would be recommending looking at our 4 buildings. So looking within the 4 buildings, whether it's adding on to one of the buildings or something like that. We were looking at a major expansion of preschool operates. So that's where I think we would look at. It'd be costly to keep Jeffrey open unless we had a partner in the process. If the town was going to keep it open for some use and we were able to use part of the building, I think that would be a potential for us. But I think that's discussions that we'll have to have.
Has the town expressed interest for certain
They have,
ideas?
yeah, they have more asked us what our plans are, because the ball's kind of in our court.
They're not like itching to get their hands on it for certain purpose.
They have not. I know they have vested in Academy. The putting Madison there. I know that project is still in design phase. So I think that could that be something they would maybe look at depending on status of Academy, but I don't sense that that's imminent change. That's just my opinion as one potential use of the building. But I know that there's some appetite or interest in preschool on the town side and the board side, and making sure we have preschool offerings for the community that we need. I know on the private side it's becoming more and more difficult and competitive for them to do the offerings. So I do worry about that long term, but immediacy I don't see any need at this point.
Okay.
So I have a couple of comments. The first is that Ryerson isn't really, there's not really a need for discussion, correct? Because it was in the referendum that it would be raised with the funds for the money that was voted for the referendum. So that's sort of a done deal, right?
The board would still have to take action. Was part of the discussion. It wasn't part of the referendum question. It was part of the presentations, though, that was the plan, and I think that's still the recommendation I would still the direction I would recommend, but I don't, it's not, decided, and the board would still have to take action at some point, in September of 2025, probably at the earliest, to move to give the keys back to the town, and the town would do that action.
And then my second comment is a question regarding the numbers for kindergarten at both Jeffrey and Ryerson this year. Did we get all of the waivers process that the parents wanted for their children that wanted to attend kindergarten a little early?
Yes, so great question. That will be part of my October 1 report too, when we get to the enrollment piece, but just kind of anecdotally responding to that. Yes, so the vast majority of families that asked for a waiver were granted a waiver. What we don't know is how many decided to hold off on without letting us know. So I think I did talk to some families who just said, I'm not sure that I want my child to be the youngest in the grade level, whereas, if they were, late September, they wouldn't be the youngest before, but I think we weren't able to tell them that status. So I think some might have just decided on their own to do another year of preschool. So yeah, that numbers aren't all that well known, but it was pretty close to trajectory. Most families that I talked to that had planned to go to preschool were going to go through the waiver process, and were granted a waiver. We did have some conversations with a few families, very few, that said you may want to consider holding off a year, but if you're ready to send your child, we're ready to accept them.
And it wasn't a significant number of students.
No.
And then I guess that my third comment is regarding Jeffrey. I mean, that building, if we were thinking of doing something for a preschool, that would be a significant amount of construction and money that you would have to, that's like a whole nother project. And I don't think it's something that we would be even interested in thinking about when we're just doing the new school construction now that includes a preschool. I don't think it would really be to our benefit to hold on to that school. I think my personal opinion is turn it over to the town. If they want to do something with it, or if we even decide in the future, oh, we do need more preschool, you can always get it back as long as it's not, obliterated.
That segues to a point I wanted to make. I started on this board shortly after the academy school was closed. And there were questions about refurbishing it and reopening it. And it was determined that it would cost something like $26 million just to bring it up to code. Because once you stop using a building and you mothball it and you try to use it again, you have to then comply with modern code. So you have to update it to meet modern code. Peter, I don't know if you know anything about this, but if there were any consideration at all of using the building, whether as a Board of Ed education related building or as a town facility, it might make sense, instead of completely mothballing it, to have it occupied by some interim activity so that, there's technically it's open and it doesn't need to be completely recoded if the town were to want to use it, or if you want to use it again.
Yeah, you have to be make sure you go through the proper, if it's a change of use, then it becomes a whole different project.
Yeah.
So whatever the building is, if there's the change of use could affect everything from the septic system to the access to the building. So we go from a school to a municipal building, that's different. So it just depends on what's going to be done. Keeping it as a school is one thing, change of use is a different.
What if it, like this building is partially used as central office for the school district? What if there were like some school district related offices there. Would that still count as an
And
traditional
then I'm
use?
still, yeah, because you're going from a school to a different type of building. So that's a change.
So
of
it
use.
still would be a change of use. Okay, so that's another consideration that militates in favor of Diane's position, which is, if we're gonna close it, it probably would not make sense to plan to reuse it.
Well, I mean, also because, one of the main reasons that we were so adamant about having a new school is because that building has so many issues and it's so old, and bringing it up to date was so costly. The same with Ryerson. And so to hang on to a building that we've already deemed to be inadequate for our use, I just feel like it's a waste of 50,000 a year to let it sit there when we're not going to use it, because I really don't see us using it. We're going to have this beautiful new school and renovated schools for all of our students. And then I just can't imagine us wanting to sink so much money to rehabilitate that into a preschool. I think it's a pipe dream, and and I don't think it's going to happen. And I think it would just be wasting taxpayer money to keep it just in case for 50,000 a year.
Yeah, I think that some people have suggested that there are some uses that maybe would make it worthwhile for the town to either use the building or sell the property potentially with the building as part of the sale. It might be more attractive a property without the building, like the Ryerson property would be. But I think probably the direction the board should head in is just giving over the keys and letting the town do with it as it wishes.
I think that makes sense. I mean, I think it really strains credibility when we have multiple years of selling to the taxpayers the need to go to 4 schools, at some considerable expense. To go through that process and get approved, and then in the back end say, oh, but we see another need, I don't think taxpayers would appreciate that.
I have 2 questions. So what about the land from where Ryerson sits? Like, if we do go ahead and the building is raised, what happens to that space?
It's town land, so they
Okay.
would have the option to do with it what they want.
Okay.
So I think that we would just want to insert ourselves in a conversation about that, because they're
Something
basically
like
neighbors,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
And then, so in terms of like next steps for this discussion, will this be on a board agenda at some point for a larger discussion? As we look towards decision time, how do you see this?
I wasn't sure how definitive the committee was going to be. It sounds like the committee's pretty definitive on that, so I think we could move towards a board discussion. I didn't know if we needed to come back to the committee. If you had questions that Peter and I couldn't answer, but it sounds like you may be ready to have it as a full board discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll present it tonight in our committee meeting and see or the board meeting. And see what comes to that. I mean, I'm not in like a huge rush.
Right.
Of course, to give people some time to think about it, so. Okay.
Perfect.
Good. That is our last item on our agenda. Do we have any members of the public online or in person who'd like to speak? We do not. Okay, and seeing no other discussion, shall we adjourn? Right, we'll adjourn at 7:14. Thank you.
Thank you.